Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good evening to Dr. Helmi, lecturers, and to all brothers and sisters. Thank you everyone for joining final year project briefing by the History Department in this evening. Without further ado, let's start our session today with recitation of dua by Brother Muhammad Qayyim.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Hamdan kathiran tayyiban mubarakan fih. Kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa azimi sultanik. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Ya Allah, Ya Rahman, Ya Rahim. On this blessed afternoon, in conjunction with the FYP Briefing Session, we beseech thee and grateful towards you in favor of all the infinite blessings to us, your humble servants, to live in safe and prosperous life. We seek your blessing for a flawless progress of this event from the beginning to the end. We seek your guidance to steer clear of events that will detrimental the progress of this event. Ya Allah, Ya Latif, Ya Rahman. Please bless us with your tawfiq and hidayah. Please guide International Islamic University Malaysia IIUM to greatness, peace, glory and prosperity in this world and hereafter. Make us responsible intellectual. Granted us with a valuable knowledge that will be beneficial to mankind in order to gain your maradatillah. Make us your righteous servant that follow your commands and neglect the sinful act. O Allah, please forgive us for our wrongdoing. Ya Munzil al-Barakah, bestow peace to our beloved country Malaysia, preserve us from any threat and disaster, neither man-made nor natural disaster, and to you, Ya Allah, we ask for security and prosperity upon us, our leaders and our country. Bestow patience in us in order to face the challenges from you. Please accept our deeds and please reward us accordingly. Allahumma ja'al jam'ana hadha jam'an marhuma wa tafarruqana min ba'dihi tafarruqan ma'suma wa la taj'al Allahumma fina wa la ma'ana wa la man yatba'una shaqiyyan wa la matrudan wa la mahruma. Allahumma innaka ta'lam anna hadhihi al-qulub qad ijtama'at ala mahabbatik wa iltaqat ala ta'atik wa tawahhadat ala da'watik وتعاهدت على نصرة شريعتك فوثق اللهم رابطتها وأدم ودها واهدها سبولها واملها بنورك الذي لا يخلو واشرح صدورنا بفيض الإيمان بك وجميل التوكل عليك وأحيها بمعرفتك وأمتها على الشهادة في سبيلك إنك نعم المولى ونعم النصير اللهم آمين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار وصلى الله على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.
Amin Amin Ya Rabbal Alamin. So now, I would like to invite Dr. Helmi to brief us on the final year project that will be starting soon. Please welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, Sister Yasmin, for MC for today. Thank you, HISTFORIUM, Brother Haris, for helping the department in organizing this event. So, first of all, I would like to thank all participants, for joining us today in this briefing sessions. So this is a briefing session. This briefing session is something that we have every semester for FYP students. Okay, and in this semester, the department offers final year project 1. So you are here, I believe, for final year project 1. And I was told just now that there are 30 maybe students, and you have been given, each of you have been given a supervisor. Okay, so under each supervisor, I believe there are around maybe 5 or 6 students. So basically, what I'm going to do today is just to brief you on the nature of the course, final year project, which is very different from, of course, as you are aware, very different from other courses that you have taken. Okay, and I have slides to show you. Haris or Yasmin, can you share the slide? Because I just shared the slide with Haris. Okay. So previously, a briefing of this kind were given by Dr. Kausa, because Dr. Kausa was the FYP coordinator last time, and since she has left us, so I need to at the moment basically conduct the briefing. Maybe this is just temporary, so we are in the process of appointing a new FYP coordinator. So hopefully, maybe by next semester, we are going to have a new FYP coordinator. So, so as you are aware, there are two final year project courses: final year project 1 and final year project 2. Okay, so can you enlarge so I can see the slides, but can you switch it into the full screen mode, or yeah. Or can I just share the slide? You want me to just share the slide? I also have the slide with me. Okay, can you basically play it, or can I just share it? Let me just handle it. Can you stop sharing? Okay. So can everyone see the slide?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Let me know if the slide is not moving. So I am on the first page. What you're supposed to see here is just briefing final year project. Okay. So now I have moved to the next one. Has it moved on your screen? What is final year project? So that is the title of the second slide. Do you see it?
No.
No. Okay, I have to do it this way. So I should do it this way, right? It's okay. So in this case, I just need to display in this manner. So I think you can see it now, right? What is final year project? Okay. Can you see it? The second slide? Okay. So FYP is equivalent to what in other universities is sometimes called undergraduate thesis. So this was for the first time introduced, like I think 4 years ago. So for students whose metric number is 171 and onwards, okay. So in that case, all of you are required to take FYP 1 and 2. This is in the study plan, okay. So at other universities, this has been the practice for I mean, since many years ago for them. For University Malaya, for instance, I think they started it, I think like 30-40 years ago, long time ago. So that, which means that towards the end of their undergraduate study, they will have to write a thesis or produce a research work. Now, whatever it is, despite the name, now I think the differences in between, I mean, in terms of the name, I think they mean the same thing. So in our case, the nomenclature or the terminology that we use is final year project. So basically, to just tell you what it is about, it is an independent research work. I don't think you are unfamiliar with FYP. I mean, I think we have briefed about about this course. Last time, if you have attended our what they call it department gathering. So in department gatherings, we normally had one slot for Dr. Kausa to briefly explain to you what is FYP. So it is an independent research work. So you are on your own, but of course you have a supervisor. And this is a graduation requirement, which means that if you fail FYP1 and FYP2, you have to repeat it again and again until you pass it. If not, then you will not be able to graduate. It is a graduation requirement. In your study plan, this course is parked under the kuliah. So therefore, we call it a kuliah required course. This is not really a department required course, because this is something that is applied by the kuliah, across the kuliah. So other departments also, their students have to take final year project as graduation requirement. And of course, you can imagine that this course symbolize the peak of your journey as an undergraduate student. The peak of your undergraduate journey, where you will apply whatever things that you have learned in the courses, okay, in research methodology, in other courses that deal with many different periods. So you are going to synthesize all the information there, all the knowledge that you have, and use them for the project. So now there are two courses, right? Final year project 1 and 2. So it has been the practice at the department to offer final year project 1 in semester 1. So which is why you are all here for final year project 1. If you pass this semesters, your final year project 1, you will then take final year project 2 in semester 2. Okay. So, and the reasons why we offer it in semester 1 only, because we want, unlike final year project 2, we cannot give you extension. If you cannot submit it before the end of the semester, we cannot give you extension, unlike final year project 2. For final year project 2, we can give what we call the IP grade first. If you cannot submit the result on time, we can still give you extension around 2 or 3 weeks, which of course you will continue doing research until maybe the early weeks of semester 3. So which is why we cannot allow final year project 2 to be taken in semester 1, because we do not want it to interfere with your study in semester 2. If you are given extension, then you will have to conduct it during the first few weeks in semester 2. So that is not appropriate. So for semester 1, for final year project 1, what you need to do is just to complete it on time, submit the what they call it, everything, the draft, the final draft, and everything, and we supervisor, we will evaluate and grade your what they call it, your work, and submit it before the end of the semester. So so that is the logic. But I think this is as a general rule. Of course, with few exceptions, we can allow, and for few reasons, we can allow students to take semester, what they call it, final year project 1 in semester 2. As most of the time, if they fail final year project 1 in semester 1, so then if they repeat, then they can take it. But if not, by default, of course, we expect all students to take final year project 1 in semester 1. So the objective of the 2 final year project The objectives are different, but they are interrelated. They are interrelated. So when working on final year project 1, you should have already be anticipating or thinking about what you want to do in final year project 2, because this should be thought as a continuous project between these two projects. So I do not want you to think that these are two separate activities. No, this, what they call it, what final year project 2 is about is basically a continuation of what you have set up, what you have written in your final year project 1. Okay. So what is the objective for final year project 1 is to produce a research proposal. So since you have already taken research methodology, I hope you are already familiar with research proposal, and you know what is it for and what are the contents of a research proposal. Okay. So what you need to produce is basically a research proposal in this semester. So under your supervisor, he will be guiding you and supervising your work basically in preparing a research proposal. And that research proposal, remember, the purpose of research proposal is to propose for you to propose a research work. You want to explain your research proposal. What research do you want to conduct? And that research will be carried out in semester 2 under your final year project 2. So in other words, which is why this is a continuation of final year project 1, you will have to carry out a research, whatever things that you have promised in this semester, in your paper, in your research proposal, you will have to fulfill them in semester 2. If you say you want to study this and that, you want to find this and that information about this and that, you have to do that in semester 2 when doing final year project 2. Now, in terms of length, and we measure length in terms of length of these works in terms of word count. Now, for this semester, the proposal that you have to produce in terms of length should just be around the one that I expected you to produce in your research methodology class last time, which is around 2,500 to more or less 3,000 words. So I think if you exceed the word limit, like maybe to 3,500, that should still be fine. But whatever it is, please listen to the advice of your supervisor. Okay, I'm just giving you here as a general rule, basically the length of your research proposal, and it should be ideally between 2,500 to 3,000 words. And for your final year project 2, which you will do in semester 2, you will have, by the end of the project, you will have 1,000 words thesis or mini thesis, which includes your research proposal, because your research proposal will later become chapter 1 of your mini thesis. So you can see, therefore, let's say if you have 3,000 for your research proposal, so you will then may have to add 7,000 more or less, when working on in semester 2. Let's say chapter 2, 3,000, chapter 3, 3,000, and then conclusion 1,000. So that makes it 10,000 more or less, around 1,000 words. Okay, so you will have 10,000 words by the end of semester 2, which is that is basically your mini thesis. So that is your journey for these 2 semesters. But for this semester, of course, I want you to just concentrate on your research proposal. Okay. And of course, at the moment, I think maybe some of you already have a topic, but maybe some are still looking for a topic. So again, as general rules, I think there are a number of things to take into account when choosing a topic, because unlike when you were doing research methodology, whatever topic that you choose today, you have to make sure that you can also work on it during semester 2 when you are doing final year project 2. So you are not just here producing a proposal, but you are going to carry out an actuary research. See, when you were writing your proposal in your research methodology class last time, maybe you can write on a very ambitious topic. That's not a problem, because I did not expect you to work or to conduct research on that proposal, on what you have proposed, on the things that you have proposed. I just wanted you to just to produce a research proposal, that's it. But now, this time, you have to be realistic, which means that whatever things that you propose, make sure that you can complete them in semester 2. So the first question to ask is whether the topic is workable. The topic is workable or not. If the topic is too broad, maybe it takes longer time to work on that topic than what you can, have in one semester. So maybe you want to change it. So can the research be completed? Can the research be, sorry, there is a mistake there. Can the research be completed in one semester? So because you have one semester in semester 2 to carry out the research. So you will do all the activities that researchers normally do. You will go and collect data, information about what you want to study, and then you write your chapters. Okay, so in one semester, will you be able to complete that? Okay. Can you find enough sources, primary and secondary sources on the topic? Of course, we do not, because you're doing final year project, undergraduate project, and undergraduate project. Of course, we do not expect you to interact or deal with too many primary sources. But I think I really hope that you use at least some primary sources, or if it's difficult to find, maybe just use few primary sources. But it's always good to have primary sources to have primary sources in your research, to rely on primary sources in your research, because that's what makes it a historical research. And because of that, I think sometimes it is easier to work on a topic where you can find maybe primary sources that have been published, printed or whatever. Even though it is translation, that is still fine. So of course, we do not expect you to read the original. So you can find maybe translations of the primary sources. That is still fine. Okay, but at least what I'm saying, the bottom line is for you to have at least some primary sources. Okay, maybe it's easier to work on a topic that deals with recent period, like modern history or whatever, because you can easily find primary sources from this period. If it's quite recent, even more recent, then maybe you can use methods such as interviews or whatever. If you look at research in other universities, sometimes their research is just simple, like they want to conduct research about the schools or the history of a town in near their village or whatever. So you can just look at those small things, and because those things have not been written, and maybe you can find some materials from the archive about that small town, about a school, about maybe anything related to your local areas or whatever. So, but whatever it is, sometimes those things are actually the ones that are workable. And you can also, I think it is also important to choose a topic that you have deep interest, that you are really passionate about, because you want to make sure that you can maintain the momentum throughout the semester, just focusing on that one topic, because you'll be spending your time just on that one topic for these 2 semester. So ask yourself whether or not you will be able to maintain your interest in this topic for these 2 semester. Okay. And then familiarity with the topic is also important, because when you are familiar with the topic, that will facilitate the research process. Okay, and so you do not want to do on something. I mean, because sometimes people just realize that they are interested in something, but they just realize that, but they are not really familiar with the topic. They just find it interesting. Suddenly, maybe just 2 days ago, I find this topic interesting. But are you really familiar with the topic? Okay, are you familiar with books that have been written on the topic? Are you familiar with works by other historians on the topic? Maybe. So if you can make sure that, if you can, choose a topic that you are familiar with. You are most familiar with, then that is better. So I think those are just some of the things that you need to consider when choosing a topic. Okay, so you don't have to. It's not that I do not want to discourage people from doing topics that are too remote. That deal with periods that are too remote in the past, but sometimes it's not easy to find sources like ancient Egypt or ancient Mesopotamia. You can do that, but most likely you'll be relying on secondary sources for sure. But if you really want to train yourself to become, as a researcher in historical studies, that requires you to deal with primary sources. So find a topic that will allow you or will enable you to interact with primary sources. Okay, newspapers or documents from the period or whatever, that is okay. If you know you can find them, yeah, that's better. Okay, there are roles and responsibility for students and supervisors as well. Of course, you need to consult your supervisors and discuss all aspects of your research according to the agreed schedule. So your supervisors might call you for a meeting, or if you have anything to ask, if you need to consult your supervisor on anything, you can just ask them whether they are available on this or that day at this time or what. So if they agree to meet, then you can just consult them, meet and consult them. So as a general rule, of course, we expect students and supervisors to meet at least 6 times throughout the semester. Okay, and the mode of the meetings, again, that depends on the consensus between you and your supervisor. So whether you agree to have it online or face-to-face or whatever. So you can have it online. I think that is not a problem. Okay, because even if you have it online, you can still show your draft, and your supervisor can still comment on your draft when doing it online, right? So as long as it serves the purpose and the objective of the meeting, that is fine. And you have therefore need to also monitor your own progress according to the time schedule. So your supervisor will then give you maybe tasks according to his own what they call schedule. So maybe he wants you to work on literature review first, or just write the introduction first, or whatever, and he might give you time for you to complete that. And if you are not sure, if you're not clear, you can always ask the supervisor what you need to do. Okay, and if you have any problem, or if you feel like, say, to contact your supervisor, you just come and see me, or you can just contact me. Okay, and you need to jot down. You have to note all the feedback or comments made by the supervisor during the meeting. So because when you, let's say, present a draft of your, let's say, introductions, a draft of your literature review, your supervisor will comment, will give feedback, and you have to take note of those comments and improve your draft based on the comments. And you must adhere to ethical guidelines So if you want to interview, maybe you need, it's good to have to prepare a consent form. So you can just, if you do not have a template for that, you can just ask me. So if you want to interview someone, I can prepare a consent form for you to give to the interviewee, and they need to sign it because they need to give their consent for interview. And your work must be free from plagiarism or plagiarized elements. This is something that everyone must observe. I think I have mentioned this as well in research methodology class, that the punishment for plagiarism is very severe. So if we manage to detect any elements of plagiarism in your work, you will be we will have to fail you. We will have to fail you, and you will have to repeat the course. Okay. So at all costs, you must avoid plagiarism. Now, for FYP1, as I said earlier, your task is to produce a proposal with that length, 3,000 words maximum, more or less, spacing 1.5, Chicago style of citations, or sometimes called Turabian style. Okay, which means that we use footnotes rather than in-text citation, like APA or whatever. So the paper should consist all the major components of a research proposal. So these 3,000 words, more or less, should comprise of those sections that you should have in your research proposal: introduction or background of the study. I think you have written, when last time when you were writing your research proposal, you were also including all these components. So you have statement of the problem, research question, research objective, literature review, significance of the study, research methodology, chapter outlines, and bibliography. Last time, for those who took with me research methodology, I did not really make it compulsory for you to prepare chapter outlines. But for this one, you need to prepare what we call chapterization or chapter outlines, which means that you have to state what will be the chapters for the thesis. So maybe you will state chapter 2, what is the title of the chapter, and what will be the discussion of the chapter in one paragraph. Yeah. Chapter 3, what is the title, what is the discussion. So that is what we mean by chapter outlines. So if you are not clear on the features of each and every section, or what is expected from you for each and every section, you can always ask your supervisor. Okay, and I think these are the essentials. You cannot miss them. Okay, I mean, all of this should be there in the research proposal. All of these, what they call it, elements. Okay, the research proposal should be ready for submission, at least the draft, by week 14 of the semester. The exact deadline for the final draft will be decided by the supervisor. So again, because the schedule vary from one supervisor to another, so you have, but I think as a general rule, again, you by week 14, try your best to complete the draft of the proposal. So whatever improvement that you need to make, maybe you have maybe one or 2 weeks after that for you to revise or to improve your draft. So, but the final submissions, of course, the exact date for the final submission will be decided by the supervisor. So, so please discuss this with your supervisor. And as I said earlier, no IP grade can be given to FYP1 students. IP grade means in progress grade, which means that IP grade means when we are asked to submit results, normally we will have to immediately key in the results in the system. But for FYP2, as I said earlier, we can put just IP, which means the student, we do not submit the result yet, but we give them extension. But extension can only be given if we have reasonable justifications, because actually the kuliah also do not want you to extend your period for FYP2. But since it is a research work where you will have to collect data and everything, of course, sometimes some students have difficulties and they have problems in collecting data. So in that case, extension can be given. So when extension can be given, we key in the IP grade, So then the student will have around 2 or 3 more weeks as a period of extension for his period of extension. So, but for FYP1, there is no IP grade, so all the results must be submitted before the end of the semester, which means that I think, which is why it makes sense for all of you to have your graph ready by week 14. So I think that should be the target for every students who are taking FYP1. So the supervisor will evaluate and grade the research proposal. So you don't have any other examiner. Okay, I'm not sure about the practice in other universities. Sometimes maybe they will give to someone else to examine. Okay, but in our case, it is your supervisor who will evaluate and grade the research proposal, which is why you have to maintain close relationship and with your supervisor, and try to follow whatever instructions that he is going to give you with regard to your research project. So because he's the one who is going to grade you. And those who fail this final year project 1 and also final year project 2, if you fail final year project 2, like say in next semester, you will have to repeat the course. So because this is a graduation requirement. So I think that's all for me. I think if you have any question, you can always ask me after this. Okay. So I'm giving back to our MC, Sister Yasmin. Thank you. Sister Yasmin?
Yes, Doctor. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you so much, Doctor, for your words. Now, let us proceed to the Q&A session. If any of the participants would like to ask any question, please turn on your mic, or you can just type down on the chat box.
We don't have question. In the meantime, let me remind those who still do not have a topic. Maybe if you can try to make up your mind within this week, okay, about which topic that you want to have for the research. Okay, because we are already in week 2, right? Yeah.
Doctor,
Yes.
do we need to have questionnaire for FYP 1?
Depends on what do you want to study. We don't need that. Most of the time, I think we don't need that when doing historical research, right? We don't use questionnaire. Yeah. Interviews, yes, you can use. Yeah. Not questionnaire. It is not something that we normally use as historian. Yeah. Anyone else have any question?
Doktor.
Yes, sorry. Yes, you have a question? Is there any minimum amount of primary sources? There is no hard and fast rule on how many primary sources should you use because it depends on the nature of the research. Sometimes you can maybe just focus on 2 or 3 primary sources, because let's say like if you do something like intellectual history, you study the thought of someone, you can just maybe concentrate on 2 or 3 of his books and speeches maybe, but you analyze them deeply, that's enough. Okay. So it depends on what kind of research you're doing, right? But maybe for other sources you need more. Maybe 2 or 3 is not enough. Yeah. But I think if you deal with modern period, like modern Malaysian history, you can easily find sources, which is why it's quite frustrating sometimes when people do research on Malaysian history, but they just use few primary sources. That is not good. So you should take the opportunity because you are in Malaysia and many of the sources are actually available either at the National Archive or sometimes they are also available online, newspapers. So if you have any difficulties in looking for primary sources, please let your supervisor know, or you can also, if you want to ask me directly, also can. Okay, so maybe we can see whether we can share with you some online databases or whatever, so we'll guide you on where to find primary sources. Of course, your supervisor will facilitate you on that. Yeah. Okay.
So I have questions, which is how specific the title should be.
Now that your own judgment is important, but I think your supervisor also will need to guide you because this is the first time you are doing research. It shouldn't be too specific because again, like I mentioned in my research methodology class, if it is too specific, then you will have problem finding sources. But let's say you want to talk about a political party, that is something good enough in terms of scope. Maybe you want to talk about the early years of this one political party, like the first 30 years of UMNO or the first 20 years of let's say PAS. But you have, of course, to explain why do you think the first 20 years was important, whatever. So that is, I think, manageable, right? So whatever it is, you have to make sure that when you choose that topic, something you can discuss it when you are writing your thesis in semester 2. Okay, so you will have 2 research questions. So this is something that I forgot to explain just now. You need to have, each of you need to have 2 research questions. So these research questions will be addressed or answered when you are doing your FYP 2. So research question 1 will be addressed in chapter 2, usually. Research question 2 in chapter 3. So when you ask a question, a research question, it should be long, it should be, broad enough for you to discuss it in one chapter. If you think you ask a very specific question, then it's difficult for you to discuss it in one chapter. Maybe that is not good, right? Sometimes you ask a very specific question that you can only discuss it in 2 or 3 pages. That is not good. So usually one chapter maybe 10 pages or 7 to 10 pages, if I'm not mistaken, okay, for FYP. But we will see, around 10, I think. So that is the length, I guess. So your judgment here is what you need to see here. I think your supervisor will help you to either broaden your topic if it is too narrow, or narrow down your topic if it is too broad. He has to do that because we need to go case by case. I cannot just give you a general, what they call it, statement here about how narrow should it be, how broad should it be. Okay, unless if each of you show me the topic one by one, that one I can look at it and then discuss with you one by one. That's easier. But you see, as I said, it should be something that is researchable, okay, and can be completed in one semester. Okay. Can you explain about the research methodology for history? No, for history research methodology, under the methodology section, normally what do you have? Normally we have discussions about how are you going to collect your data. Okay, and most of the time in historical research, our data collection will involve archival research. So you will have to explain that. I will go to the archive, or library research, you go to the library. And then another thing that we normally mention under research methodology is what kind of primary sources or secondary sources that you will use. But in higher level research, normally people only explain primary sources because people want to know what kind of primary sources that you will use in your research. And what types of primary sources, what are they? So I will use newspapers from this period. I will use letters or correspondence of this minister or that. I will use minutes of meeting. I will use government documents. So I will use visuals and photos, paintings or whatever. So those should be the discussion under research methodology section. And it must be consistent with your research questions because people want to know whether the sources that you mentioned in your research methodology sections, they can help you answering your research questions that you have asked in the research question section. So they should be really related. So you can also mention where can you find them and explain why are they relevant for your research and how can they answer your research questions. So that is normally the discussion. It is not as structured or sophisticated as research methodology section in other fields, but we are mostly dealing with the issue of sources when we discuss research methodology. Yeah. Anyone have any other question? How is it? Now, what if our topic happens to be the same as the previous one? What do you mean previous one? Nusmina Tasnim.
What if we have the same topic as the past student who did the FYP
Okay.
too?
Now, you know, you have to do literature review, right? You have to take that past students' research, include it in your literature review, because literature review should include whatever thing that has been discussed about the topic. Then you need to show how your research is going to be different from, you need to explain how your research is going to be different from his discussion. Let's say he did something about May 13. So in your literature review, you also need to mention his writing, because that is one of the things that, one of the discussion by previous historical researcher, he is one of them. So how is your research going to be different from your research, his research? Because research is about, this is, I did mention last time in research methodology class that when doing research, you have to show that you are trying to add new knowledge to the field about that topic. So if your research is just going to repeat what he has done, there's nothing new about your research, then it is not a research. So you can carry out research on the same topic, but you need to explain in your statement of the problem, okay? So you need to state what you want to study and how what you want to study here is different from previous studies on the topic. Okay, maybe he has talked about the role of Chinese Malay relations, Sino-Malay relations in the 13 May incident. But you think people has not really talked about Indians, so your research wants to talk about how was Indians, how did Indians perceive May 13? So that has never been studied. It's still about May 13, but you want to focus on that aspect, and then you show that your research is going to add something new to the discussion. If your research only deals with the same thing, the same issue, then it is not a research. So can you understand? Samina?
Yes, Doctor. Thank you.
Okay. Remember, novelty, originality should also be your concern, because novelty, I mean, what new thing can you add to the existing knowledge? Which is why if you do something like, local history has not been studied widely in Malaysia, like say the history of your town, small town, or your village. Yeah, you can build something on that maybe. So let us, I think, let us wait. And I mean, we are still in early stage of the process, but I hope by this week you will be able to what they call it, finalize your topic, because yeah, only then, once you have finalized your topic, once you are clear on what is the topic, then you can start looking for literature or readings, start reading books on that. Okay. Any other question? Okay. So I think I hope you will have meetings with your supervisor soon, and you will start discussing with your supervisor on what is your first task. Okay. If you have anything, you can always contact me if you want to contact me or ask me anything. But bear in mind that for this research, the first person that you should always refer to is your supervisor. Okay. I will update you if I have any information on FYP in general. Okay, to everyone. Okay. If not, you will be mostly dealing with your supervisor. Okay. Okay. Any other questions? No? And please, for the final draft, for the final submission, make sure that the paper is in good shape. Because imagine that you want to produce a thesis, and of course you want it to be in good shape. Because sometimes people, they take it very lightly. You find many grammatical errors or language issues. So try to minimize linguistic errors or grammatical errors. Okay. Of course, we don't expect you to write in perfect English, but try to learn how to write in an academic manner and present your argument academically, systematically, and make sure that the language is fine. At least for the final submission. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, Doctor.
Okay. Yes, Yasmin, anything else?
I don't have anything else. Maybe there are some other questions from others. Okay, I think there is no questions. So thank you everyone for the question. So I would like to thank everyone for joining us today, and I would like to apologize for any mistake and wrong on behalf of myself and the organizer. Okay, we will close our session with Doctor. Do you have anything to say?
No, I don't have anything else to say. I just want to wish all of you. I want to wish that you will be able to complete this course successfully. Okay, and not just this course, but FYP 1, FYP 2 as well. Okay, so I think thank you so much for your attention during the briefing and participations during the discussion. Okay, that's all.
All right, we will close our session with wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.